Hello and welcome back to Blighty Day Fiancé, your 10th, 11th, or 12th favorite reality TV recap podcast. My name is Michelle.
And I'm Jack. Back again.
And we are covering season 4, episode 9 of 90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise. If this is paradise,
you may need a life jacket.
Yes, that's the title of the episode. Thank you. If this is paradise, I'll take purgatory hell, please. If you're new, pull up a pew. We don't bite. You can sit right up front here. We are a broad church. We welcome everybody. We only judge the cast and crew of these shows. We don't judge our listeners. We love you. We love you even more this month if you're in the LGBTQIA++ community. Write to us at bladydayfiance@gmail.com if you'd like us to shout out your business. We are doing this for free for our LGBTQIA++ entrepreneurs out there. Find us on Instagram at Blighty Day Fiance. I think there's a Twitter account somewhere. I don't mess with that too much. Join our Facebook group, Blighty Day Bays. Bays is spelled B-A-E-S. Blighty is spelled B-L-I-G-H-T-Y. That is the housekeeping. Are you ready to start, Jack?
I couldn't be more ready to start on this phenomenal episode.
Have you got your Astroglide out? Not a sponsor for.
Do I ever
not
Kyle. Have it prepared?
Are your balls well ventilated? Are you wearing basketball shorts? Are you picking at yourself?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not picking at myself, but I am wearing basketball shorts underneath the desk here.
Okay, you've got to show everyone. You know that, right? Right. Join our Patreon, patreon.com.
Join our Patreon so you can see my bottom half. Wait, there we go.
We got a little bit of waistband. I'm happy with that.
Well, you know, it's a family program.
Well, yes, this is, but on our Patreon is not. And for $5 a month, you get all of our material without ads. You also get a bonus episode every week. At the higher tiers, the Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis tiers, you get to choose that bonus episode. You also get to see us on video. And Jack and I have made a pact this morning that if we reach a certain threshold in Patreon subscribers, we will start doing at least one show a week topless. Don't worry, I will be wearing pasties.
I won't be.
You can see Cousin Dan's chest tattoo as well, which is a marvelous piece of work.
Really is.
Moving on to the actual show, if you're still with us and all of that hasn't put you off, if it has, it's going to get worse from here. It's going to get a lot worse. So
don't oversell it, Michelle.
Oh, I'm running on full everything today. I am pumped, full of adrenaline. I have taken my earrings off. I am ready to go to battle. So
took her rings off, put Vaseline on her hands. She's ready for a fight.
Yep, exactly.
Do you want to go in order today?
Yes, I do.
That means we're going to start with Luke and Madeleine in Colombia.
Sometimes my arms bend all the way back.
That is, of course, Madeleine still being stuck in the Black Lodge in Twin Peaks. It's where she belongs.
The Red Room in the Black Lodge. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And we do owe you all a video of that. I'm working on it, I promise. An extra love to our Twin Peaks fam out there. Okay, so Luke is looking far too serious in his expression while wearing the bear suit from Midsommar. For those of you who have seen that film. And I thought it couldn't get any more ridiculous until Maddie walks in wearing exactly the same bear costume.
With
they're
the
both
same
like
face.
sulking.
Yeah, it's a
Yes. Yeah.
sulky. And you had told me, we were watching this together. You told me that their faces did not match their bear coats. I want to know, should they have been having more fun, in your opinion? Was it just too dour with what they were wearing?
I mean, if it's the bear suit from Midsommar, it is the appropriate expression, but they looked,
True.
I don't know, it just wasn't, they have a whole different vibe to them.
A Twin Peaks vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So look, nothing happened. She admits to sleeping with the drunk guy in the same bed. And basically at this point, tell me your thoughts on this, Jack. In my view, Luke is using this as currency now, and he thinks, okay, now I get to say how everything is, and he proceeds to say, okay, now I get the prenup, now I get, you doing
I
what
caught
I
her.
want when you
I
want.
caught her. I can
What are
get
your
whatever I want now.
what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. As a guy, I'm going to say whatever Luke says, he absolutely does not believe that she didn't fuck around with the drunk guy in her bed. He can say whatever he wants. He does not believe her, in my opinion. And he's now using this to punish her because it's sort of an understanding, I think, on Luke's side where he knows she's lying. He's accepting the lie in his mind. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm saying what Luke thinks. And now he's going to use that as currency, as you said, to try and get whatever he wants. But I think he's overplaying his hand a little bit. We don't see him overplaying it, the fallout of overplaying the hand in this episode, but it looks like it's going to keep going forward because I'm going to get your opinion in a second, but it feels to me like he's looking for a way out. The guy doesn't have money anymore. He doesn't seem to want to support her or can't. And his mind looks like he's back in the US already. And I know they're having like a cute time or whatever, and we'll get into their boat trip. But honestly, like whatever happened in this episode was totally clouded by his perceived anger towards her and, what he considers to be, at best, I think he thinks it's like a half truth.
Well, it was the worst day he ever had in their relationship. So, there were, y'all, I hope you packed your Dramamine or your motion sickness tablet of choice. If you're like, Jack and I are both,
motion sickers.
Motion sickers. We are barf bag Jonahs. To use I won't tell the whole story, but basically my sister used to ride a school bus with a redheaded child named Jonah who used to have to bring a bag to puke on the bus because his travel sickness was so bad. He needed his own puking bag. And not surprisingly, everyone called him Barf Bag Jonah.
Probably to this day, huh?
Probably to this. It's probably, do you Barf Bag Jonah?
Are you listening?
Mindy to your lovely.
You just reminded me of a kid I went to school with who like probably picked his nose like once and then he was booger fingers for like 7 years. Really sad. I wonder what Luke would have. I feel like Luke would have been called names at some point in school. There would have been something.
Luke would have been called 5'4", pushing nothing.
Is he shorter than her?
I don't. She's always wearing these like ginormous
7-inch
platform heels, so it's hard to tell. Anyway, look.
Yes.
He puts on his weird accent, like girlfriend voice, and he's like, "I want to give her a chance to apologize to me and to show empathy." He's like Hilaria Baldwin with this weird, because it's not even Colombian. It's like a Spanish accent.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%, because that's like all he's really heard. He's like, this is how everyone speaks, right?
No, I mean he would have heard Mexican Spanish, but like I don't know, he's gotten it confused somewhere. It's like he's seen Zoolander too many times, and then I don't know, like I don't know. He picked up it's his accent is very Spanish.
It is. No, I mean,
So he's
that's
like, "Yes, amor, let's get on the boat and have some cervezas." He
well,
wants
no,
to
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was so distracted during this entire scene because between feeling between feeling sick and just being on a boat, and then Madeleine says, I think she does apologize and show empathy. She said, like, I'm not, she says in her ITM, I'm not going to run after him and beg him to forgive me. I'm going to admit what happened. But, it's not my fault people are talking shit, and I'm not going to apologize for like bullshit other people say.
But what do you make of the fact that she sort of does end up apologizing for it and taking the full brunt of it?
Well, I think that's when her protective instincts kicked in. We're told, and this doesn't come as a surprise to me at all, that her parents weren't around much when she was young, and she didn't have that sense of security. And she says to Luke, "You teach me for first time what is love."
Yes, she did say this.
Parentheses, baby, don't hurt me no more. And if you are a 90s child that's going off in your head, I'm really sorry. But look, it is what it is. You can't
Night
end
of the
the
Roxbury.
sentence. You can't say what is love aloud and not expect that song to go off in my brain. So yeah,
Fair
ultimately her survival instincts kick in, and she realizes that there's an actual threat here.
So
And she remembers.
Is that around when she starts breaking down and crying?
Yeah.
And did you get it all? Luke seemed a little annoyed because she's crying, she's having emotions, and he's like, "Why are you crying? Why? Why are you crying?" It was very aggressive in the moment.
At first I thought he was saying, "What are you crying about? What are you crying about, amor? Are you crying because you are sad? Are you crying because you are sad for yourself, or are you crying because you are sad for me?" That's what I thought that was going to turn into, but I think actually what he meant was, "Amor, are you crying because you are trying to darvo me in this situation? Are you trying to make yourself the victim here, Madeleine?"
Do you think she's trying to victimize herself here with him?
No.
No, do you think he thinks that? Do you think he thinks that?
Yes, I believe very strongly that he thinks the worst of her and assumes the worst of her in every situation because of his own insecurities from being a broke, short, I don't know what you call, like, what's like a failed king?
A failed short king?
Yeah, he's like a manlet. Thank you, cousin Dan. He's a manlet. He's like a tertiary princeling. He's of no consequence. Like, he's never gonna. Yeah, no. This is all. And of course, he informs us, like any good villain. He's like, "I can't wait to use this against her when I bring up the pernerp."
Well, he brings that up after she apologizes. That's after the tears. That's after
Yep.
things seem okay. But then in the moment, got to bring that prenup up again. It's just really in my brain.
He's banking it there.
I think he's what is your prediction? Because we're coming up on the finale next week. Do you think these two are together?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
I think I wish they would break up because I think she would very quickly find someone else who's in a better position
She said as much.
to, yeah. But love is a powerful drug, y'all. You know, the heart
Well,
wants what it wants.
and also, this is clearly, if he taught her about love, he's her first love. So there's all of that tied into it for her as well.
Let's not forget the squirting. He's
Oh,
also the
that's
first to
right.
make her. And as you've said many times,
Yes.
you know,
Way to a
make
woman's heart.
love. Yeah. You have her for life then, apparently. And you would know, you know,
I would.
20-year relationship. That's over the odds.
Well, not everyone who's squirted has lasted 20 years, you know. It's a high bar.
Does Cape Cod pussy squirt smell like clam chowder? I have to know.
No, and that's fucking disgusting. Thank you, cousin. Okay, let's rewind
Okay.
yourself.
All right. So my prediction is that they will be together because the emotional connection is very strong for her, and I don't think she is at a stage in her emotional development where she can parse the emotional connection from what practically makes sense in terms of the rest of her life. I also I don't mean to be cruel, but I call it as I see it. This is a woman who badly wants those 3 wedding dresses. Bad.
Yes. And yeah, go ahead.
Can I let you all in on a secret? Because I was one of those women too. You can, if you go to a consignment store, you don't even have to do that anymore. Now there's like Vinted and eBay, not sponsors, and plenty of other places to find wedding dresses. You don't have to do the say yes to the dress thing. If that's part of the experience that you want and you're not engaged, there's not like a process where you go to David's Bridal, not a sponsor, and you know they ask to see your wedding registration and your wedding invitation. You can as long as you make an appointment and you're respectful, you can walk up anywhere and have that experience. I have done it many times.
Just for fun?
No, not just for fun, but on a on a speculative basis, let's say.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
don't. I would not be surprised if they make it onto a different iteration of this show. Wouldn't be shocked.
They're very popular.
I think they're entertaining to a large majority. I actually found them pretty entertaining, even though the story ebbed and flowed in odd ways. You know, I think it's a setup. It seems like there's a sequel in the works.
They're good TV, and they work for this. They work for this outfit because, and this is the last thing we'll say on them because we do need to move on. But they work for this outfit because there is genuine affection there. Like there is, whether it's misplaced or not, or trauma bonded or not, it's there. They do actually care about each other, and they absolutely should not be together and are totally incompatible.
Full agreement. Moving along to Alex and Adriano.
The second nauseating boat trip.
Yeah, this was full.
You had to like describe this to me while we were watching it because I needed it audio described because I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, the boat was very rocky in the Amalfi Coast. So we start with Alex alone. Her cousin comes into her room and yada, yada, yada. Adriano asked me if I would be in a threesome with the two of you. Or did she tell the cousin that where did he say that?
I believe she told her cousin that he said
Gotcha.
it.
Right. Because he did say it to her. Do you think, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but do you think that was that a real like attempt on his part, or is he just kind of throwing darts at this point?
I'm worried that if we get into that territory, then we're going to have to talk about, you know, the things that he said about her cousin, which I don't want to kind of don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
repeat.
definitely don't want
So
to
if you
get in
don't
that.
mind, I'm gonna sidestep that
That's
question
fine. Yes.
and instead put the respect on cousin Tiffany that she deserves.
Yes.
A quote here: "I do not like him. You can stay with him if you want, boo. Just don't."
Yeah, I mean, Tiffany really lays it down. I mean, she tells us in the camera that she's kind of surprised that she hasn't already dumped him. So Tiffany seems to be over the relationship at this point.
As are we all, I would think. In
For
fact,
sure.
I think maybe Alex is the only person who she's Alex is still in a Taylor Swift song, you know. She's out here being like, "Yeah, the grave is dug, but there's no body in it."
And what's
Kind of a
Adriano doing? Just looking for the leaning tower of pussy? Is that like all he's into? Like, is this real? Is just is this? And yes, I did have a visual when I was thinking of that. But is he for real? Like, is his whole fucking mission in life fucking two women at one time?
I'm starting to believe that he is one of the few blessed individuals in this world who only thinks moment to moment and purely lives in the now. I don't think he's thinking about anything that's not right in front of him.
Now, does that
I
include looking at women on the beach and going like, I kind of
yeah,
want that one?
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exhibit A, brother. That's you know, he's if that's on the table, that's what he's going to talk about. And I don't think he brings it up independently. I really don't. I think he only thinks about it when I mean, I guess you could say yeah, sure, fine. He probably thinks about sex all the time, but he's not thinking I don't think when he's with her, he's like, "Oh, I wish there was another chick here." Like I do you think he's like that?
No, I think he's a little sex obsessed, not in like a strange way. I think that he lives in a place where people are down for a lot of different things, and I think that's what he wants to experience. Why? And he brings this up in this too, in this episode, where he brings up lightly that Alex came as someone who was really interested in trying different things and having exciting experiences, and he said something along the lines of like, "And now you're religious." Which I think kind of underscores their whole thing here. She's changed, and he has not changed an iota in the entirety
But
of their relationship.
he has never lied.
Mm-mm.
He's never lied. He's never I mean, he's said, you know, of course I wouldn't mind having biracial children. Like that's I mean, that's talking out of his ass because he has no idea, you know, what that would really mean in his country or in the US, right?
Right, right.
But that's different. That's not, you know, purposeful misdirection. I think this is the ultimate example of when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And she's made him do this again and again.
But
Tell me who you are. Tell me
his
what you
answers
want.
are,
And it
they're
doesn't
the same.
change.
No,
Yeah.
this is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. Now, I was curious because you were reminded so they go out onto the boat in the Amalfi Coast, beautiful area there. You couldn't really see it because you were getting seasick. But Alex says she feels like she's in a movie. And you said to me, yeah, you're in Cape Fear, which made me think, and now that's a remake, of course. There's two versions of that. The more recent ones from like 1990, starring Robert De Niro as an escaped convict who sits in the back of a movie theater and says things like, come out, wherever you are. I want to know where Adriano felt like a come out, wherever you are type of character to you.
No, she's the come out wherever you are.
Oh, she is. She's in the De Niro
Yeah.
role. Okay.
She's not there for a good time.
Fair
she
enough.
wants
fair
to murder
enough.
him.
Okay, you think she's okay? I mean, they're on a boat. It's a good it's a good spot to commit a murder.
But she's like, I just don't think like if I'm first of all, if I'm in that part of the world, which I've not been to yet. Hopefully I'll get to go one day. She's not, this is not a pleasure cruise, as it were. She's saying, well, I was hoping for some accountability, but it sounds like you don't give a shit. You know, like she's like, I can't wait to take this romantic boat ride and strip off and swim in the ocean with this hot bodied, gorgeous man who's dicked me down like I've never been dicked down in my life. And no, she wants to have a conversation about accountability, which you can do in a hotel conference room. Okay. So.
Yeah, but she really wants him to say he doesn't want threesomes. And I kind of admire his stick-to-itiveness on this. He's not backing down from this. Because I think if it's Alex or threesomes, he's picking threesomes if he gets one choice for the rest of his life.
And you know what? Threesomes don't, tell you that you don't have any values because you don't believe in God.
That would be a really unfun threesome.
A threesome is not going to judge you for your beliefs or lack thereof. They're not going to judge you for.
Why'd you stop going to church? A threesome won't ask you that.
Right.
Just before we wrap them up, I just want to. Alex
has
a really.
Not glaze.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Did I skip? What I skip? Yeah.
No, let's not glaze over the cousin of it all because.
Of course.
I know I said I wanted to sidestep that, but I
so sorry I'm not sidestepping the thing you wanted to sidestep.
Even if that was a joke. Now look.
It wasn't really a joke. It was a half joke at best.
Many of you listeners ask if cousin Dan and I are biologically related. No, we're not. But that's not what a cousin.
Right.
That doth not a cousin make. Right. We both are huge fans of The Bear, the TV series, and several of the characters on that show call each other cousin, and it just felt natural. So then we love each other. So that's the kind of thing. What I'm coming to is that cousin Dan is the only cousin with whom I would entertain having a threesome with.
Makes cousin Dan feel very special, I think.
Or uncomfortable.
Both. Oh.
Both.
So I was getting to Alex's quote, which felt like a quote of the episode, which is, this is Alex realizing her deep truth and then, to use your word, we were just saying, sidestepping it completely within like 30 seconds, which is, I'm tired of being delusional and in my own head. Yeah, that's what it looks like, Alex.
Alex, we're also tired of you being delusional and in your own head. So particularly the delusional part.
I think that they are sort of wrapping here because we finish with Alex finally telling Adriano she doesn't see this working. She refers to this as a bad cycle that she needs to break. And then she gets very teary. So I don't know. I don't know. Does Adriano end up on the single life or anything, or is there not enough substance?
Think there's not enough there for him. Like he can't really carry a scene, you know. Like
he'll end up on. Yeah,
she might though.
She could.
Yeah, I could definitely see her. On the
Adriano's more likely
in Houston.
Adriano's more likely Dallas, to end up on F-Boy Island. I think that's more of an Adriano move.
Yeah, I think he's probably too old for that.
Don't tell him that.
I won't. Right. Shall we move on? Have you got your bottle of lube out? Are you ready for
I'm not
Ani
what you
and
can
Kyle?
see
Do
me.
you need to readjust?
I don't need to readjust, but you can see I'm not wearing my flesh tone t-shirt today. And I know that's like a big hit when we discuss Kyle. Ani und Kyle. This is this one got real. This actually gets to a point of no return in this one. This
one is hard to make fun of.
It really is. We're going to try, I think, but it's not really funny. And we have people upset and people crying and broken hearts. So this is, let's see. So, well, we open with they're still arguing about the Plan B pill that has not gone away. That really struck Annie in a really bad way, which I fully
Yes.
understand. And
And
do you
as she
let
says,
me not talk for a woman? What are your feelings, Michelle, on what Annie's dealing with here?
I don't have time for men who think that it's their right, that a woman's body is in any way their jurisdiction.
Even if that man fully understands the entire workings of the woman's body from having sex with her one time?
Even if he's been tracking her ovulation since menarche, no, it but it's really about, this is a betrayal, and I agree with her. I love this quote. If you cannot even jump this little hill, you're not jumping anywhere with me.
Great one.
These are words to live by, and I'm not being sarcastic. I mean it. Like, this is not the one for you if he can't show basic consideration to your autonomy and your needs. Like, that is not okay.
Well, so they're in
But
the middle of, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
we're you're about to say the same thing as me, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just so he does a weird move where they're in the middle of this discussion. He doesn't really answer anything. He's still saying like, "Well, I don't really." Essentially, it boils down to, "Well, I know your cycle and you're not pregnant, so I don't need to deal with a Plan B pill," which was weird. But then the weirder step is, "Here's my negative STD test." It felt like a kid handing in an assignment, like at the end of class, and it was super weird and it threw her off completely. Um, I don't really know what to make of it. He obviously wants to share that he's clean and he doesn't have anything, but like,
That's
I,
normally something you do before you have sex with someone.
yes, this felt like a little too little too late. I mean, I don't. She's congrats. I'm psyched. We fucked last night, and you don't have active herpes. Terrific. I mean, and you didn't get me a pill. This is not a good opening for Kyle, and I don't know if this is the beginning of him trying to jump off or not.
I could not tell you what his motivations were here in having this conversation. He tries to conflate, so he did lie to her about or he tells the truth now about the
Yes.
number of direct deposits he's made. Excellent reality gaze joke there. He tells her the truth, and he conflates that with her sleeping with her ex the day before he arrived. um I'd love to hear your take on this, because in my view, if he knew that, and they had established, through their online correspondence, that she was seeing other people and dating other people, so he knew about this guy. And in my mind, up until the point that he arrives or they agree to be monogamous, both of them, sexually or physically monogamous, whatever
Right.
you want to call it,
Yeah.
like, then everyone can do what they want, right? So I think shaming her for that is really gross. Just because, like, the timing doesn't matter.
I
But
think the way he's looking at it is because I looked at it as like, dude, I get it. Like, not the most fun thing to hear that a woman you're going to visit fucked someone else like the day before you got there, but you fucked two women on your way to go see her. But I'm saying in his head, it's not the same thing because those aren't relationships. That was like an artificial insemination done naturally,
ugh.
which is so fucked up and weird. And this is where they're just at like loggerheads where it's never going to work because they view everything completely differently. I understand if it was a job, let's say, and he was literally jerking off into a cup and that was how he was donating, then yeah, then he could be like, what are you fucking other people the day before you see me? But like, this is a weird situation, and Annie's not comfortable with the donations, obviously. So, I just this is like a dead end at this point with them.
It is. And conflating, you know, like I said, putting this shame on her for having sex with an emotional component with someone she knows, that he knows that she had slept with before.
Mm-hmm.
She's entitled to do all of that. It's not worse than it's not worse than having sex with a complete fucking stranger in the context of being a reproductive abuser who's like has to catch every Pokemon or whatever. Like this is it's so fucking weird. I don't understand. And Ani, other words to live by, no one, I'm paraphrasing here, but no one can make you change. It has to be you ultimately who initiates the change. And he admits that he's not going to stop doing this. And I'm curious as to what do you think is behind him? Do you think him admitting, actually, no, I can't stop and I don't want to? Do you think that was like a revelation for him, or do you think in his mind he's thinking, well, I could stop for the right person, but this is not the right person?
Yeah, I think it's kind of somewhere in between things there because he tells Annie, you should accept me. You should accept this. And why? He never gets to a why. There's no follow up. It's you should accept this and who I am. This is what I do. And there's no understanding from his side as to why it's bothering her. And I don't think he was ever planning to stop. I don't think he is ever planning to stop. And I feel like anything she tells him, for instance, like, hey, the guy who I mentioned I was seeing, yeah, I did see him a day or two before you were here, I know him, I was feeling nervous, whatever the fuck she says, right? And somehow Kyle's taking that as like, oh, well, she did the same thing. It's not the same thing. And the bottom line, no, he was not going to stop. He was not planning to stop. And, that is what it is. He's too into he wants to keep track of his 76 children and count them as his own. So I'm not sure that a human being like that can be in a proper monogamous relationship if that's what the person he's seeing is interested in.
I think there's something going on. I mean, there's an obvious unresolved psychological issue that he opened up about where, he has to have these sex appointments, or I mean that's the other insane contradiction to me, is that he claims that this is a non-emotional exchange for him, yet he's admitted previously that he started doing this because he craved an emotional, physical connection with a woman.
And are you
So
referring
they are
to
the same thing to him.
Are you referring back to when he said he started this when he was in his early 20s?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so
because he couldn't get women to sleep with him.
Which I don't think we really touched on this. Just really fast. At 22, that something's going on there. If you are becoming a donator, because at 22 you've given up.
Donor.
No one's. Excuse me, donor. At 22, if you decide the only path forward for you to have children or anything, or to be with a woman, if that's your thing, is to be a donor at 22, I think that speaks volumes about Kyle's brain development in this area, or lack thereof, perhaps. He's stunted somewhere along the line. I can't really figure out where from what we know.
There's something very, very wrong, but this whole idea, like, imagine if there was and I'm sure this does exist, but imagine if there was a woman who, now obviously egg donation is much more invasive and taxing a process, and anyone who does it, you are an angel. To do something, to put your body through that for something so completely selfless, I think is hugely admirable. And
Certainly.
fuck it, anyone who goes through egg collection, if you're doing IVF, whatever, however you're doing it, like you are a shero, because that is not an easy process. But let's say that the situation were reversed, and Ani was like, yeah, I have to be an egg donor. I have to do it as many times as my body allows, because it's the only way that I can feel, and sometimes I have to be, you know, I have to be a non-gestational surrogate. I have to be like the surrogate, and it's my biological baby and it's my egg. And if I'm not constantly impregnated, then that sucks all the intimacy out of my life. You would think this woman needs to be in prison, right? And
I will tell you though, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm picturing Kyle's response to it if this was like the reverse situation. And you know that he would pull some sort of thing like, listen, like biologically, I'm making the deposit. I'm not taking the deposit. So what you're doing is gross and wrong, and what I'm doing is beautiful and
yep,
powerful.
absolutely. I know, like I'm like you're carrying life fine, but like I'm creating the
Yes.
life.
You need me to have something in there. That's his fucking
Exactly.
attitude.
He like looks at her and he's like, why is this rib talking to me?
Be quiet, you inanimate object.
um
I do, just so if you have nothing else on them, I'm going to assume that neither of them is going to appear on the show again. Although you never know. You never know. I've said that about a lot of people who pop up on a different show in this universe.
Matt Sharp has a special kind of sadism. So I think I could foresee Kyle being on the single life and terrorizing
No, I'm not
women
terrorizing.
more.
I'm just a donor. I'm not terrorizing anyone. I'm just a donor. I'm a good guy.
I just envision whenever he talks about his children, the his in quotes, I think about this like flowers in the attic type ginormous mansion / asylum where like it's all these little kind of like froglet children with his this weird frog face, and they're all just sitting there eating like with their eyes popping out, shoveling food into their mouths.
Everyone
You have to
wearing
put like you have to put a cork on the cutlery so that nobody pokes, so that they don't kill each other.
Everyone's wearing extra small t-shirts. All right. Are you ready to move on to our final couple tonight?
Yes, I am.
That will be Alliya and Shawn. This to me felt the realest of the couples today. I don't know. Do you have the same feeling there?
Yeah, I think it's probably more relatable a situation.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have now, sadly, as many of us have learned through experience, when you're a hetero gal, friends with hetero males, they tend to like, once they have a wife, they're not really necessarily a huge part of your life anymore. And
Right.
once they have kids, it's like you might hear from them once a year, maybe, if you reach out first. And it's just, that is what happens, unfortunately.
That's life.
And yeah, it's sad, but
It is.
I totally get it. And if having the last thing I ever want to do is, not be, I want to be a radiator in everyone's life. I don't want to be a drain. Right. So,
Yes.
So I get it. But basically, to recap, Alliya's taking what I think is like the most reasoned and rational and fair approach to this,
Big
which
time.
is just saying, look, it's okay to keep the relationship open until I can relocate to the US. My one stipulation is that I don't want you to, part of this openness to be with people who you associate with and are friends with. And on the one hand, I'm like, you know you're gay, right? Like, I can't think of and forgive me if I'm telling tales out of school here, but I can't think of a group of men or women that I know where people, I mean, even like, it's not just a gay thing. Like, even like my ex had a group of friends from university, and all of them had slept with all the other ones,
Right,
like
right.
everybody had been through the running order, and then they settled into couples later on. And you can move past it because there isn't that emotional weight attached to it, I guess. And I think that's where the problem is, and I completely support her in that.
And did you
I
say
can
this?
also,
Forgive me if I'm repeating what you said. Did you say this was specifically about the open relationship and that Alliya is saying she's fine with the open relationship until she gets to the US?
yes. Yeah.
That's what you were saying you thought was very magnanimous of her.
Well, I think the magnanimous part is all of it. Like, yeah,
Sure,
keep it
sure.
open. But my boundary, she's saying, is I don't want you to have sex with your friends who then become a part of my life. And I know that the two of you have had this forever friend
That's a very funny line,
relationship.
which we'll get into in a different episode, the forever friend. Now, this is where I will say this brought up the age gap to me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just, if you know anything about history, Shawn's 61, which means he lived through the 80s and the AIDS epidemic. For someone like Shawn, when I was hearing, I feel more comfortable being with someone who I know for a long time, and that's more comfortable to me. That to me felt a little bit more like, yes, I'm sure he's more comfortable and maybe he's a little emotional and he doesn't just want to fuck random people, which he said as much. But I do wonder if this is something from Shawn's life. I know this from my own relatives who are part of that community and are similar age, where the fear of living through the 80s and then surviving the 80s did change some people's lifestyles. And, just it was a point that just felt very big to me with the age gap in this particular
Yeah,
relationship.
absolutely. And I have a member of my family who is turning, he will kill me if I identify him, but he's turning 75, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
This weekend, and his husband is younger than him, significantly younger than him.
Okay.
I call him Uncle Sugar Baby. I'll put it that way. Um, and the same thing applies. Like, my relative has never wanted casual sex, has never wanted to have an open relationship, doesn't feel that, has never felt safe. Coincidentally, he was also married to a woman, never had children of his own, but he was also married to a woman before he came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that generation, it is that deeply, I mean, I think it's appropriate to get political here and say that this was negligent. This was like en masse negligent homicide because the government did
Yeah.
fucking nothing
Yeah.
about this. And a
100%.
generation was lost. And it makes me, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional thinking about it because I've lost a family member to AIDS, but it's like, if it was treated, if gay people were treated with the same respect and dignity that straight people were, the epidemic would have been something completely different and it would have changed. But because of all the shame and that was put onto that community, just the cost is immeasurable. And fuck Reagan in his fucking grave, and skull fuck his Nancy Reagan too. So, I'm sorry, you can cut that part out, cousin. But seriously, fuck them both, and fuck everyone who was in the fucking government at that time. And if I'm hitting a nerve here, just know I have so much empathy, so much sympathy, so much love for all of you who ended up losing someone.
And
I was not expecting.
I share your feelings too. You know, growing up in New York in the 80s and 90s, I knew many people, and I knew several people who did pass away in similar circumstances and from AIDS. And it's a horrible thing that happened,
And it's a horrible death, you know? It's
yes,
horrible.
yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, that's where I bring up the age difference between them, because, you know, the way Alliya grew up and her age, you know, I'm not sure what I don't know. I don't want to say she doesn't know, but from this conversation, it seems like she might not have maybe the full picture of what Shawn's life has been like, you know?
And maybe that's not the easiest topic for him to discuss. And
I'm
maybe
sure it's not. I'm sure it is not.
No, yeah. But I mean, you know, Shawn is not comfortable being vulnerable in any sense. And he's made it clear, you know, I need to feel like the man, whatever that means. Or, you know, I need to be, Shawn is someone who needs to feel in charge and in control. I'd love to hear, just because it's not a similar relationship at all. It's a totally different relationship, but I want to know what Kenny and Armando think about these two.
That'd be a great take to hear, you know, because they have the age difference as well. I think it might be,
it's not as big.
It's a little smaller,
difference.
Right? Yeah.
It is, yeah, because Armando's our age, I think, or late 30s, maybe
a little bit younger, but yeah, not he's at least 10 years older than Alliya is.
Yes.
But, you know, there you have a different thing there where we know, or at least we, you know, believe we know that is a fully monogamous relationship. I mean, if they do anything outside of that, it feels like it's probably discussed and not secret. I would, just from what I'm putting together. So one brings up that if Alliya had gender confirmation surgery, he would not know where he would stand in the relationship. That seems like a really big deal to me. I'm not saying he's not wrong. I'm not making comments about his feelings, but in the essence of this relationship, that is problematic going forward, potentially. What did you think about his comment there?
Well, I prefer to see the context of the whole conversation.
Okay.
So I'm not.
Was this on the next time on? Did I mix this together?
Yeah, it was on the next time on.
Sorry. I thought this was on this week. So that's coming up next week. So we're not going to have a full thought on that right now. We'll get to that next week.
No, and I think I would, if at all possible, want to have a trans perspective on this.
Absolutely.
Because I don't feel comfortable talking about something that,
of course,
I really know nothing about.
And I was just bringing it up from what we saw on the show, not trying to throw anything else in there.
No, I know you are. It's fine. I just can we put a button on this by saying I will never psychologically recover from hearing like the ed at the end of a verb pronounced. So like,
this was the most you laughed this entire episode.
Yeah, I was. I don't even remember what the word is, but I do. It's like, I don't want to be silenced. What was it?
It was changed.
Changed, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not mocking the accent. It's just words are funnier when you when you do that. It's like how the letter S in Old English looks like an F.
Yeah.
The way it's written. Mm-hmm. So like you read old things and it's like, what the fuck is the wheat fief? So the wheat sheaf. Like, stupid. These people were dumb.
As we wrap up here, it's just occurring to me that none of this feels much like love, but they are sort of in paradise. I'm curious, I'm just throwing this out randomly. This show has changed a lot since its first season. And do you
It
feel
sure
like it's
has.
become more a part of the 90-day universe, whereas in its first season it was a little bit kind of separated from the rest of the fray?
You know, that's a tough question to answer because I think have the storyline that have the typical storylines and archetypes kind of converged. Yes, yeah. I mean, I think about Charlotte and Johan on um on 90 Day UK, and I think this would normally be like a love in paradise kind of situation. What I like about 90 Day UK is that it's sort of all the different genres of the 90 Day industrial complex, or subgenres rather, fit into one. So, you know, you have one person who's there's no kind of straightforward formula for it. Like, not everyone fits into Before the 90, not everyone fits into Toe, not everyone fits into Love in Paradise, but it's sort of its own thing, which is good in some ways and not in others. But to answer your question, yeah, it's become much more integrated. It's definitely, I like it less now than I used to.
Like, did you watch the first season of Love in
Yeah.
Paradise?
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone was really into the Mark and Kay
Yeah.
storyline. And that one felt a little different than a traditional 90-day story, in that they had kind of been together on and off and trying to find this right time and right place. And that was a great story. Obviously, it changed in real life and didn't end happily ever after. But I do think that's a big shift from that first season to the current season.
But you know what? That's the whole point. Is that you're saying it didn't end happily ever after. Like, yeah, they didn't get married and end up being an insufferable couple on one of these other shows that we just like trot out like animatronics at Disneyland doing their little pre-programmed dance for us. Not that I don't have appreciation for that too, but it was a very different show, and that story is still a love story.
Oh, of course.
They still
of course.
did what was best for them, you know? But
Yes.
yeah, that doesn't fit into the, you know, this is like, it's so Shakespearean with the 90 Day industrial complex, right? It's not a comedy unless there's a wedding at the end. And there's always got to be a wedding at the end, right? So anyway, if you want to know our thoughts on the other 90 Day Fiancé industrial complex shows, come at us on Instagram, email us bladydayfiance@gmail.com. Don't forget, if you are an LGBTQIA plus entrepreneur, let us know about your business and let us help promote your business on the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/bladdyday. My name is Michelle, and I am sick of being delusional.
My name's Jack, and I'm tired of living in my own head.
We love you all. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.